If you decide to confront that thought and make a different choice, get ready because you're going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel unfamiliar. And there's going to be some uncertainty because you're stepping out of familiar territory. You're stepping out of the known and you're stepping into the unknown. Now,
by definition, change is never easy because you're leaving your comfort zone. And even if your comfort zone consists out of negativity and negative emotions that don't serve you, leaving what you're used to, is still uncomfortable. Let's break down a conversation between Jay Shetty and Joe Dispenza and have a look at what you can actually do to change for the better. You want to start with your negative thoughts. One issue is that negative thoughts are self-repetitive and endless. Just listen to Joe Dispenza here.
So the thought of being unworthy produces the feeling of being unworthy. That feeling then, when the person feels unworthy, tends to cause the person to think more unworthy thoughts. And it only takes a thought and a feeling, an image of yourself and an emotion, a stimulus and response, and you can condition the body to memorize that behavior and that emotional state better than the conscious mind. So the moment we inhibit that thought, or the moment we become conscious of it and we no longer accept it,
it's basically a never-ending cycle. You have negative thoughts that cause you to have negative feelings, which cause you to have even more negative thoughts, which cause you to have even more negative feelings, which cause you to have even more negative thoughts, and just keeps going on in a cycle like this. But as Joe Dispenza says, the moment we inhibit the thought, we no longer accept it, and this is the beginning of change. Now, we can also go to the feelings and start here to change. This is actually what I would recommend, but Joe Dispenza talks about this, and this is also a valid approach, so let's dive more in depth. And most people are very, very bad at controlling their thoughts. In fact, most people are completely at the mercy of their thoughts and what goes through their head because they don't even know that they could have any control over that. And their mind automatically wanders to all the issues and problems in their life, which causes even more negativity in itself, just as Joe Dispenza says here.
You could actually, by thinking about your problems, turn on the stress response just by thought alone, and that's what most people do.
So you constantly turn on your own stress response, which causes more negative feelings, which, as you can see here, then causes more negative thoughts. Do you see this pattern in your life, when negative thoughts and negative feelings cause each other and then just start multiplying? Before I started working on myself and my issues, I basically had that all day, every day, and it was horrible. Another issue that many people have is that they believe they can get to a place where they will never feel any negative emotions ever again. And that's just not possible. You'll always have negative emotions that come up in your life. That's just life. And if anything, this expectation of never feeling negative emotions ever again just causes even more pain, just as Jay Shetty says here.
Partly, a lot of the anxiety and stress we feel is because we kind of hope that we'll never feel anxiety and stress again. So there's a sense of like, okay, I can get to a place where I never experience anxiety. I almost think that sets us up to be more hurt by the anxiety and inevitable uncertainty we'll feel.
It just sets you up to get hurt even more because negative feelings are inevitable. Again, they are a normal part of life. What matters is how you deal with them and how much you let them affect you overall. Another important thing to understand is that your negative thoughts are probably very, very strong habits that have been reinforced over years, possibly decades. And if you have the same negative thoughts, also the same for negative feelings, over and over and over again, they become very deeply ingrained in you and very, very habitual, just as Joe Dispenza explains here.
Well, we think primarily 90% of the time we think the same thoughts as we thought the day before. The challenge with that is the thought that you keep thinking over and over again becomes a belief. And nerve cells that fire together wire together. So the more nerve cells fire, the more they develop long-term relationships and the more hardwired they become. The more hardwired they become, the more automatic they are. The more automatic they are, the more unconscious they become. So the process of change really requires becoming conscious of your unconscious thoughts, which means just because you have that thought doesn't necessarily mean it's the truth.
Yes, most of the time the thoughts really just play in the background on autopilot and you're not even aware of them. And once you become conscious of them, you can choose to just not accept them as truth. Because they aren't the truth. Again, your negative thoughts are just reinforced patterns that have been reinforced for a long period of time. But again, just like I said in the beginning, always be aware that when you start, change will always be uncomfortable or even painful, even if you know it's for the better.
If you decide to confront that thought and make a different choice, get ready, because you're going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel unfamiliar. And there's going to be some uncertainty because you're stepping out of familiar territory. You're stepping out of the known and you're stepping into the unknown. Now,
and your subconscious always wants to prevent you from stepping into the unknown, because the unknown is always potentially dangerous or even life-threatening. But stepping into the unknown is obviously the only way to ever change, right? Because if you change, by definition, you need to do something that is unfamiliar, unknown to you. Just as described in this next clip, to change, you want to start working on behaving and thinking differently. First, get very, very clear about how you want to think about yourself and your life. What would be positive? What would be the way you would want to think about yourself and your life? And then always make a conscious effort of reminding yourself about that.
So if your personality creates your personal reality, and your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel, if you keep thinking the same way, you keep acting the same way, you keep feeling the same way, your life is going to stay the same because you're the same. So the experiment is, okay, let me begin to think differently. So I got to remind myself how I do want to think, and I have to remind myself of how I no longer want to think, so I don't default and go unconscious.
Obviously, this is nothing that will change your entire life from one day to the other, and it just needs practice. And I love this next clip from Dr. Joe Dispenza here, where he describes that it just needs practice, just as riding a bike for the first time.
No one cares how many times you fell off the bicycle. If you ride the bicycle now, you ride the bike. So it's the constant process every single day. And I think that sometimes we look for evidence in our life and it hasn't happened. And I think it's so important that we still show up.
And yes, constantly showing up, putting in the work and reminding yourself of who you want to be and how you want to think is what will really foster change in your life over a certain period of time. And just to be clear here, it's not about the time, it's about the consistent effort. And that just by definition needs a bit of time. But time is not the important factor here. It's the consistency that you put in. But the issue is that most people never do that. And let's be real here for just a second. If you watch this video right now, 99% you will not do anything about your life and you will stay stuck. Most people never take action. If you actually pause the video right now and write down how you want to think, how you want to be, how you want to behave, how you want your life to look like, and then keep reminding yourself of that, you are one of the 1% of people who actually take action. And it's not that big, right? It's not big of a commitment to write that down. That's maybe half an hour of work and then reminding yourself about that. But it's change. It's a step into the unknown. And most people will keep procrastinating. And probably the statistics say you are probably one of them. If you are not, please let me know down in the comments. I hope you are not. And again, once you've written that down, it's about constantly reminding yourself of thinking that way, behaving that way, and actually becoming and being that person. Very, very important here. You never, ever want to ignore negativity or pretend that it doesn't exist. That's toxic positivity. We don't want that. But you want to change your main focus and not be so focused on the negativity anymore, but on positivity. Just ask yourself, how would you feel like if you would feel abundant, loved, worthy?
If you said, how would it feel to feel worthy of love? How would it feel to be grateful for life? How would it feel to be worthy of abundance? And you said, I'm going to teach my body emotionally what this feels like before the manifestation of the event. You're not waiting for your life to change to feel worthy. You're actually changing your life by becoming worthy. You're generating abundance. You're generating love. You're creating an elevated emotion.
Now, one thing I would word differently here is that you are not changing your life by becoming worthy. Rather, you start realizing that you have been worthy to begin with the whole time. And of course, Dr. Joe Dispenza is known for his meditations as a practice to change how you feel and in turn to change you and your life. So one thing you want to do first is gain control back over your thoughts. And yes, you are not at the mercy of your thoughts. You can be in control of them. You just have never practiced to do so. So let's listen to what Joe Dispenza says here and then break it down step by step.
People will sit down and they'll say, okay, I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to start this process where I'm going to rehearse how I'm going to be today. And they start thinking about their cell phone. They start thinking about all their emails. And they start thinking, I can't meditate. There's something wrong with me. It's my mother's fault. And they actually believe that thought to be the truth. And then they get up and they actually reaffirm it and they say, I can't meditate. Now, I can tell you that if you are willing to see that thought as just a thought in your brain and you're curious what's on the other side of that thought, yeah, you're going to feel uncomfortable. But if you had some tools and skills to apply and you were able to take your attention off your cell phone and settle your body back down into the present moment, that would be a victory. And then your body would say, come on, you got to feel a little frustration now. You got to be impatient. You got to be judgmental. Come on, that's what you always think. That's how you always feel. And you, like an animal, you settle the body back down into the present moment and you tell it it's no longer the mind, that you're the mind. That's a victory. Then the body says, hey, dude, you're super busy. You got a lot of things to do. You got a lot of people to see. You got a lot of places to go. You got a lot of things to do. And you've been doing the same thing every day. Your body's going to want to get up and do something. You're going to want to quit because your brain's telling you that you can't do this. If you had the awareness to settle the body back down into the present moment, you would be executing a will that's greater than the program, because most people lose their free will to those programs. And it's that tedium in the beginning that is an uncompromising will, where you keep training the animal to stay, to take all of its attention off the environment, to get beyond all the cravings, the feelings, the habits of the body, the drives of the body, and catch yourself defaulting to that predictable future, bringing your body back into the present moment, siphoning energy back, your attention into the past based on those familiar emotions of the past. We've discovered that if you're willing to do that for just a few days, you could actually liberate an enormous amount of energy from your body.
So first of all, it's very normal that your mind wanders here and there and everywhere. That's to be expected, but this is about gaining back control. So what you want to do, and just do it for 5 or 10 minutes every day, you sit down by yourself, with yourself, and then you just breathe, clear your mind and be present. And once your mind starts to wander off to, I don't know, to what you're wearing, what you have to do the day, the issues that you had yesterday with the person that you met, whatever it is, I don't know, wherever your mind wanders off, you catch yourself while that happens and you bring your mind back to the present moment. You tame your mind, so to speak. So it's not about not thinking, it's about catching yourself when your mind wanders and then bringing your mind back to the present moment and then being in the present again. And this can be the whole time, right? Especially in the beginning. Again, it's normal, your mind will wander. What you want to do, and this is the whole goal. And every time this happens, it's a win. Every time your mind wanders, you catch yourself and you bring it back. That's a win. It's a tiny step in the right direction of gaining back control over your mind and your thoughts. So to make it clear, many people go, oh, I cannot be without thoughts, so I failed. No. That's again not the goal. The goal is not to be without thought. That's just the effect. The goal is to catch your mind wandering and then actively bringing your mind back to the present moment. And then your mind wanders off again, you catch it, you bring yourself back to the present. That's the goal. And once you get kind of good with that, and again, it can take a while, then you want to turn it up a notch and bring a feeling in, whatever positive feeling you want to have.
If you did that every day, the word meditation literally means become familiar with. You become familiar with your old self, you become familiar with your new self, and you say, I'm not getting up until I feel this feeling. And then you'd say, I want to be able to bring this feeling up whenever I want.
Or better said, whatever it is the person you want to be would feel. So again, first of all, you want to get clear about what the person you want to be would feel, think and do. Then you want to start meditating, and by meditating I mean sit down by yourself and be present in the moment and bring your mind back when it wanders off. Then next, once you're good at that, you want to start bringing in the feelings that the person you want to be would feel. And doing that can bleed from the meditation throughout your entire life, just as Jay Shetty says here.
I've trained myself to always be present. And so if I'm really present in my work like I am with you now, then when I'm on the plane, I'm just present and I know that it's time to switch off. And so I think the idea that our presence bleeds and our lack of presence bleeds, and it's not that you can selectively be in emergency here and not in emergency here. The state you're feeling is going to spread across your whole life.
It's just about training yourself to do it. And everyone can do it if you keep showing up and you keep putting in consistent effort. Now, if you're really plagued by negative thoughts that just will not stop no matter what you do, you definitely also want to have a practice to start disconnecting from them and just seeing them for what they are. Reinforced patterns that have been reinforced over and over again for a long period of time. Not you, it's just a pattern. I have broken down an interview with John Assaraf where he describes how you can detach from these negative thoughts. And I also give you a 4-week process. You can watch it right over there. See you there.